Hi, this is Congressman Tom Cole. This is another one of our weekly chats about what's happening in Congress. And this has been a pretty eventful week. We've certainly had some good things get done. Today, the House passed, and it will now go to the President for his signature, what's called the National Defense Authorization Act, something we've done for 62 straight years. Very important piece of legislation, a lot of important wins in it. In terms of getting rid of the vaccine mandate for the military, hopefully beginning to let people that did not want to do that rejoin the military later if they choose to do so. Also increased defense spending by about $45 billion, or at least authorized it. And whether or not we can actually pass legislation that will fund this is yet to be determined. But again, it was a good, very bipartisan bill, overwhelming majority on both sides of the aisle. So it's nice in a divided time to see we can still come together and work together across partisan divisions to try and make sure the country is well defended. Republicans continue to organize for the incoming Republican majority. This week, quite a few of our next chairmen were effectively nominated for their posts in a variety of committees. That includes Frank Lucas of Oklahoma, who will be the incoming chairman for the Science Committee. That's a big deal for our state. Very proud to see Frank get that nod from everybody. And so, again, lots of things happening still to determine. Next week, we'll look at the rules for the new Congress. There'll be a forum on the Republican side about any changes or additions. I'll preside over that as the top Republican on the Rules Committee. And then we'll put together a package that presumably the majority will rally around and vote to make whatever changes so we operate more openly, more transparently, and we hope more efficiently than we have in the past. So I count those as good things, but there's still so much left to do. Technically, government funding runs out on December the 16th. The two parties are still trying to negotiate a spending bill that would run through September 30th of next year. Personally, I think that would be a good thing if we can find common ground, but the two sides are still far apart. And that's a bridge that we need to, or a divide that we need to bridge if we possibly can. And then again, it's still unclear as to exactly how House leadership will shape up, but most of that has been decided. Obviously, the Speakership's decided not until January 3rd, and there's some movement around that. In full disclosure, I'm supporting Kevin McCarthy to be the next Speaker. I think he's the right person. He certainly led the Republicans back from a tough defeat in 2018. We gained seats under his leadership in 2020, gained seats again and the majority in 2022. And not to be at all critical of my friends in the Senate, but those were years where Republicans lost seats in the United States Senate. So it's quite a testament to his political skills that we were able to defy the odds and make sure that we at least put some brakes on the current Biden administration and made sure that some of the outrageous spending that occurred over the last 2 years can't occur over the next 2 years. I was also disappointed to see the president visit a border state, Arizona, and not go to the border. There's no question that immigration policy has been a disaster under this administration, and most importantly, border security. We have record numbers of illegal immigrants entering the country, record amounts of fentanyl and other illegal drugs coming across the border, human trafficking getting worse instead of better, and yet this administration has done nothing to reverse those trends. Quite frankly, they've accelerated those trends in the last 2 years. And that problem is only going to get worse. Next week, something called Title 42, which provided our Border Patrol with the ability to export people immediately on the basis of health dangers, is going to expire. That'll probably only make the border situation worse. So it's something Congress needs to address and needs to address now as well as next year, which I'm sure you'll see a lot of Republican activity on that front. So getting the government funded, moving in the right direction on border security, beginning to do some things to reverse some of the disastrous Biden policy on energy. All those things are under consideration. It'll be, I would expect next week we'll pass what's called a continuing resolution for a specific period of time to keep the government open. Nobody wants the government to shut down. That creates national security problems. It disrupts the economy. The real key will be how long we do it for. Do we do it just for the balance of the year with the hope we can finish our work, or do we extend it into early next year and basically punt to the next Congress? And that's uncertain as to what's going to happen. Again, negotiators, particularly in the Senate, are working on this issue right now. Hopefully they can come to a deal, but if they can't, they can't, and we'll see what the new Republican Congress can do next year. Finally, I just want to end with a tribute to my good friend and our departing colleague, Senator Jim Inhofe. It's no accident that today's National Defense Authorization Act that passed the House is named after Jim Inhofe, because nobody's done more for the American military over the course of a long career than Jim Inhofe. Nobody's cared more about defending the country. Nobody's done more to advance the priorities of men and women in uniform. And frankly, nobody's done more to protect Oklahoma, where we have multiple military bases and many defense contractors who employ thousands of Oklahomans, than Jim Inhofe. And we ought to give him the tribute and the recognition that he deserves. He got some of that this week. He deserves it. Knowing Jim, he never asked for it, but it's just a sign of a career spent selflessly in defending the country and advancing the interests of our state. So we're going to miss him very, very much when he's gone. I think Oklahomans probably don't know how influential he has been up here in terms of providing for infrastructure for our state, and again, looking after the men and women that look after the rest of us, and that's the American Armed Forces. So I hope as we move into the holiday season, some of the good cheer associated with that will certainly fall on you and your family, and I hope, quite frankly, it makes it a little bit easier for Congress to do the work it needs to get done before the year's over. So we'll look forward to visiting with you again next week, and thanks for checking in.